So I could be wrong, but I couldn't find any test drives of the Chris Craft Calypso 32 online. So this could be the first one. So it's the middle of winter here in the Gold Coast, Queensland, Australia this week, but because it's Saturday, it's actually chock-a-block out there on the water. So this video is going to be filmed in stages throughout the day. We're going to go out in the ocean, we're going to do some speed tests in the flat water, and we're also going to be testing out some anchoring and parking in different locations. But because it's so busy and every Tom, Dick and Harry is out on the water today, I'm just going to have to be creative with my locations. So bear with me, let's go have some fun. So welcome to the Pacific Ocean, ladies and gents, and whilst I still wouldn't classify this as an out-and-out offshore weapon or fishing boat or anything like that, it's clearly not. This is a bit of a Porsche on the water. The reason why I wanted to come out here on what is, albeit, a pretty nice day, we just had a little bit of groundswell rolling around and virtually no wind, just to demonstrate the fact that you can come out here when the conditions are right on a boat like this. She's more than capable of doing, little runs out in the sea, and she's very capable of keeping you comfortable because this wraparound glass is keeping us completely protected. I have the option to open that center glass or the door if I wanted airflow, but even if it was a bit of a rough ride home due to wind or swell, I'm going to be dry in here because of the wraparound. So let's just take us around a nice steady turn. I'm doing 21 knots, nothing crazy out here in the bouncy stuff. We will do the faster speed in flat water when we have an opportunity. I'm just going to allow you to appreciate how she's riding up and over some of these swells, and I'll take the speed from 20 knots up to 22. I'm at the standing position. I do feel with this 20 degrees of dead rise, I think it's about 12 or 13 at the transit. Don't hold me to that, I could be wrong. I would be standing in offshore conditions, and I would resort to the sitting inshore because you are going to get a little bit more vertical acceleration up at the front of the boat and from the helm. Now let's check her on a starboard turn. You just feel cool in these things. Love it. Nice. So as long as you weave your way through the swells, I'm doing that at now 25, and I'll ease it off for that one. With this little bit of ground swell that we have out here, mostly from a southeasterly direction, and some waves from boat wash at other times in other directions. The boat's perfectly capable of doing some speed. I'll just give it one little blast here. I'm going across the waves here, not into them. Nice, that's 32 knots. I've got the Seakeeper active. So it's not a stabilizer, it's a trim tab stabilization. It's got a name, I just can't remember what it is. And let's go into the swells now, back off the speed. The flared bow's doing its work. You can see it parting the waves out to the side now. Now we're going into some waves. I'm maintaining a speed of 22 knots. And we've actually managed to keep the decks dry. If it was really windy, I suspect we'd be taking some water up on deck with this wider bow section, which is flared. It's one of the sexiest hulls that you'll have on the water, and that social area up the front is one of the huge gains or benefits for this design. But you are going to then introduce a little bit of vertical acceleration up and down stuff into the waves, and that's the trade-off. Let's go back down and boogie. And when you do the downswell stuff and the flat water stuff, due to this hull shape, she really will accelerate, which we're going to do inshore. I'm sitting on 30 knots already, and this is fun and enjoyable. And as long as you drive actively and don't Don't just set and forget. You're going to maintain a comfortable stance and experience. That's great. Let's go inshore and bring you guys along for the ride. This is the flat water test, guys. We're in some unsurveyed water, so we've done a couple of test runs to check the depth, and we are good to go. It is a little bit of an enclosed space, so I'm going to have to do some tight turns, but I'll do my best to demonstrate what I discover. Twin 400s, V10s. Off we go. A little bit of our raise on acceleration, and we are up to 23 knots. And I got a fuel flow of about 40 litres a side, speed return of 24 knots, and I got an RPM of about 3,800. I say about because I've got some gauges here which are not giving me numbers, it's giving me a progress bar. So I'm just going to do my best here. I've got the trim on auto, that's the Seakeeper, and I'm going to increase my speed from 24 through to 26 and then 27 because the boat feels like she's boogieing in terms of a nice flatter trim at about that 26, 27 knot speed. Okay, there we go. All right, I'm going to start a right-hand turn in 3, 2, 1. Fizz is good. Just doing a little bit of navigation here. I want to get back on my original course. Coming through at 30 knots there. I'll back that off to 27 again. Fuel flow is sitting at about 50 litres a side, according to this gauge. That's a rough estimate there because that goes from 40 to 80. Speed return of 29. So I think you're going to be cruising around, burning somewhere in the 50 to 60 litre mark. And I'm going to do a turn in 3, 2, 1 per motor, giving you a speed return of between 27 to 30 knots. In inshore waters. I'm going to do a full speed run next. I'll just increase my speed now. So my revs are over the 4,000 mark, about 4,500. I'm doing 32 knots and climbing through a couple of waves. 1, 2, 3. Fuel flow looking like about 70 litres a side. 32 knots speed return. I'm going to be starting my turn in 20 seconds. Clear, clear, clear. Alrighty. 33 knots. That's a fast cruise, I would say, for this boat. 33 knots. Fuel flow about 70 litres. 3, 2, 1. Hard turn. Trim down. Increase power. You can really feel the back end sort of glide along the water a little bit, unlike a deeper V hull where we got 20 degrees dead rise on this one. She's more of an active, fun, sporty ride. Full speed, 120 litres a side now. The Fuel flow's really bumped up. Acceleration is ripping through. I'm approaching 6,000 revs and I've got 45 knots on the dial. We're absolutely ripping along. 46, 47, I'm running out of room and I've got a tinny, so I'm going to have to come right off the pace because I won't have room to turn here without affecting him. And what we'll do now, so 47 knots we saw there, 120 litres a side, really rips up through the consumption once you get up to those 5,500 plus revs. And let's just do low 20s. So that's 21 knots. We're well on the plane there. Sorry, 23 now at about 3,800 revs at 40 litres a side, and let's slow down. Let's slow down. 21 knots. The fuel flow just dropped. Okay, so did my speed. 15 knots at about 30 litres a side. We're still dragging some water here, so the boat really just wants to get off the plane now. And revs coming through probably 2,500, I'm guessing. Yeah, there we go, 2,600 on that dial. 12 knots. Okay, 23 litres. I've got gauges here and here, as you can see me looking both directions. Okay, 2,300, 10 knots. And you can see we're still pulling a huge wave at that speed, so you really just need to dial it right back. And once we're hitting that 7 knots, 11 litres a side, she starts to become a little bit less offensive, but you really sort of need to take the boat down to 6 knots. There we go. And at 6 knots or lower, you're not offending anyone, so you can definitely go through a no-wash zone, and your fuel flow is between 7 to 8 litres a side. That's all good fun. Let's go have a play around the marina dock. Okay guys, it's the end of the day now. The sun is about to go down and I'm just going to do a little parking demonstration. Twin 400s with the joystick control. I'm on throttles right now, and basically with this system all you have to do is reach down and touch the joystick. It'll take command as soon as you do it. You obviously have to be in neutral. So all I'm going to do, I'm just going to line up my berth just there. I'm parallel with the berth now. I'm just using the throttles to stop my forward momentum. That looks good. Don't have any wind so to speak of. Now I'm going to transfer to joystick. I'm doing a little swivel on the joystick, get the boat moving. You can see my head swiveling. I'm keeping my situational awareness forward and aft. I just did a bit of power, and now I'm letting the momentum of the boat do the rest. I'll start moving back, but I'm actually going to get the boat properly parallel before I enter the berth. I'm just going to go back a little bit. Now I'm going to spin the boat a bit. That's good. And I don't need to be coming in too quickly. I just want to gently maneuver her in, nice and gentle. I may put a little bit of sideways push to keep the bow from swinging down, and just coming in nice and gentle. You can see how my head is not moving away from the dock now. I'm really focused on my final destination. You should probably do the same when you're coming into a marina berth. I'm going to stop my forward momentum, and now here's where I wish I had a bow thruster, because some of these little fiddly movements, there we go, can just get out of control for you. But tickled it up. Never step off the boat without a rope in your hand. Okay, and okay, we're in. So totally possible. I think for a lot of you, the joystick is going to be super useful in addition to a bow thruster, in all fairness. But is it doable without? Yes, absolutely, it is. Will your life be a little bit more relaxing With the addition of a bow thruster, yes, I believe so too. Hope that was useful. Okay guys, I thought of a couple more things just to share with you. You do have this Chris Craft control system here on the screen, which gives you the ability to cycle through all sorts of different data that's relevant to the boat. We do have AC on this boat going through the lithium, and we have these funky lights, so you can actually play with the different color. Can you see? Oh, it's not really coming up on the screen. They like change color, so it's real cool. You can set the settings and do all sorts of funky stuff with them. So it's going to kind of be fun of an evening. Now, the only thing is, you might have noticed in my test drive, I was struggling to give you accurate data. Having this one screen here and only doing like a split screen, I was in quite a shallow, uncharted area. It was literally uncharted on the map. And so I was trying to navigate and pay attention to the dangers around me, but also give you guys the information as I was doing the test. One screen, if you need to look at engine data, navigation, and I also had a sonar on, it's just clearly not enough. So maybe consider getting 2 screens if you're in an area where you're going through canals and that sort of stuff, and you maybe want to, if the engine data is important to you, but you also want to be able to refer to your other inputs, because looking up at the top for the mercury diagnostics wasn't the best solution. It is what it is. Like, you know, I've got the info. We obviously made it work, but you could see my workload was a little bit higher. And I find when I'm driving boats, if I reach capacity, there's only so many things my brain can process at any one time. So if I'm navigating, if I'm trying to watch something else, I'm trying to do something else, all it takes is my phone to ring, or someone to pitch me with a weird question, and I've reached capacity and my brain stops working. So I try to simplify things at the dash as much as possible. Like the information I need, big clear screens, and then I can think clearly, drive fast, and be safe. So hopefully that makes sense, but it just seems to be how I work, so I assume other people do. Cool, cheers. Okay, Patreons, we're just wrapping up. I'm going to show you all of the covers on this boat, because this might be relevant as to how you're going to design your weekends, because some may want to go on and some may not. Before we get there.